Welcome back to today's Daily English Look. Okay, so today we're going to strip away some of the sentimentality of Christmas. We're going to look at the brutal economic engine that manufactures global holiday cheer. So forget the snowy scenes, the nostalgic songs. We are deep diving into the massive, complex, and often chaotic industrial operation that produces the world's festive season.
And that operation, it really centers almost entirely on one location. I mean, when you look at the source material we have in front of us, the articles, the reports, all detailing billions of dollars of tinsel and ornaments, they all point to Yiwu.
Yiwu in eastern China, which has become the undisputed, though maybe unintentional, world's Christmas capital.
It's an incredible center of commerce, and our mission for you today is to really unpack this fascinating paradox at the heart of Yiwu.
Which is?
Well, how a city whose entire purpose is built around manufactured joy is having to navigate some of the most serious global economic headwinds we've seen in decades. We're talking everything from lingering trade war tariffs to geopolitical conflict in markets thousands of miles away.
Right. And to really get the challenge, you first have to grasp the sheer scale. I mean, our sources describe 5 main districts in Yiwu for this trade. Commercial buildings that stretch for literal miles.
Miles. And they are packed wall to wall.
Wall to wall with Christmas paraphernalia.
Everything you can possibly imagine year after year. Trees, ornaments, hats, wreaths, light strings, plastic candy canes. But what's so interesting is the seasonality of it all. The city absolutely hums with activity in the summer months. June, July, August. That's when everything is being made and shipped.
Exactly. So by the time we're actually, hanging the decorations here in December, the job in Yiwu is done. The marketplace is quiet. The money has been made. Or maybe not been made.
And that manufacturing power, led by places like Yiwu, has been a huge part of China's financial performance. Just for context, in the first 11 months of 2025 alone, the sources show China posted a record $1 trillion trade surplus overall.
$1 trillion.
Yeah. So this city is a massive gear in that global economic machine.
That sets the stage perfectly. We know they're dominant, but let's look at where that dominance is starting to show some serious cracks. Specifically with their historically most valuable customer, the United States.
For years, China has been the absolute king of exporting Christmas decorations by value. Yes, the U.S. was the golden goose. Historically, America bought more than half of everything China produced in this category.
More than half. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it was a relationship based entirely on low-cost festive trinkets, but it was massive.
But that reliance is clearly dipping, and the data is pretty stark. If we look at the 10 months leading up to October 2025, China exported about $5.1 billion worth of festive goods globally.
And that number, $5.1 billion, it sounds enormous, but that's what immediately raises the red flags, because it's down. It's down significantly from the $5.8 billion exported over the exact same period in 2024.
That's a huge contraction,
Well,
$700 million.
A $700 million drop in the global festive economy just coming out of Yiwu and similar hubs.
And the most important point in our source material here is that the blame for that dip isn't spread out. It's highly concentrated. If we ask who is responsible for that decline, the answer is singular.
It's the American market, entirely. The U.S. imported about $940 million less festive fare from China than it did the previous year.
Wait, so the drop was $700 million globally? But the U.S. alone dropped by $940 million.
Exactly. So you can see mathematically that the drop in U.S. imports is not only responsible for the entire global decline, but other markets actually had to grow just to stop the dip from being even worse.
That $940 million figure is critical. I mean, you have to remember, we're talking about low-margin goods here, plastic ornaments, tinsel. This isn't high-value microchips. For these small vendors, a shortfall of nearly $1 billion it's existential.
It absolutely is. And that brings us to the culprit. And it's not a lack of Christmas spirit in the U.S., it's a policy decision.
Right.
Specifically, the lingering effects of President Donald Trump's trade war.
We're talking about a policy designed to achieve supply chain diversification. This whole goal of decoupling. That 20% tariff on many Chinese goods, even if it's down from its peak, is a huge barrier. It basically told American buyers, Either you pay 20% more or you find it somewhere else.
And the data shows those buyers did look elsewhere, or at least they bought a lot less from China. That $940 million deficit is the concrete financial proof that this policy of decoupling, however painful, it's actually working to disrupt this specific trade relationship.
So the real question becomes, how does a city whose entire business model is built on American consumers, how do they adapt when they're suddenly hit with a 20% price penalty?
They pivot. They have to. And you can see tangible evidence of this just by walking the floors of the trade halls. The sources note seeing a lot more banners and signs saying Feliz Navidad and Buon Natale. It's a loud, visible, language-based shift away from the English-speaking North American market and toward Europe and Latin America.
And the official trade data backs this up. It's not just anecdotal. They found new sources of demand.
Correct. Look at Europe. The sources show exports to Germany are up 22%, to the Netherlands up 16%. So the tariffs didn't stop Yiwu from selling Christmas cheer.
They just shifted who was buying it. It seems European consumers are filling a big part of the void left by the American pullback.
Exactly. It's a fascinating dynamic. The policy goal of hurting China is sort of neutralized by global demand. But even with that pivot, the U.S. market is simply too big to abandon completely.
Right. So the merchants have to get creative.
Very creative. Sometimes in ways that are, well, they border on the absurd just to get around those American tariffs.
This is where the story gets really compelling because it shows the immense costs and the logistical gymnastics required just to save 20%.
We're talking about the Grinchy tariff avoidance tactic.
And it involves the highly undignified, temporary dismembering of Father Christmas.
Yes, the fact that this is a documented trade tactic is just astonishing. So what traders do is they ship a Santa figure, its head, its limbs, its torso separately.
Separately? To where?
To nearby Southeast Asian countries. Places like Vietnam or Malaysia.
So they set them in pieces. Then what? They put them back together in a non-tariffed country, slap a new label on them that says Made in Vietnam, and then ship him whole and happy again on to America.
That's the scheme. It's an insane logistical detour designed solely to dodge that 20% tariff.
It's a hilarious image, but it speaks to a profound daily frustration, doesn't it? I mean, think about the costs, the extra freight, the labor for dismemberment, reassembly, the paperwork.
You only go to those lengths if the tariff makes legitimate trade simply unprofitable.
And it's the uncertainty around that tariff that really paralyzes things. Our sources capture the human cost of this unpredictability really well through some direct quotes from local vendors.
You can hear the genuine anger and just the weariness, this constant policy whiplash from Washington. We hear from a trader, Yang Ji, who gripes, America is crazy these days. We can't do business with them. It's just impossible to plan.
And if you're a smaller vendor, you can't make investments with that kind of uncertainty. Another vendor asked the core, agonizing question. How can I set prices when I don't know what the tariff will be when I ship?
And you can't. If you can't guarantee your costs, you can't set prices. Commerce just freezes.
So the takeaway here is clear. The trade war forced Yiwu to adapt radically. They either pivoted to Europe or they created these logistical absurdities like shipping severed Santa parts.
Right.
So having seen how policy forces these logistical gymnastics, let's broaden our view. Let's look at how global conflict creates a fundamentally different kind of challenge. Because tariffs are a headache, but geopolitics, that's equally destabilizing.
You have to remember, these traders are truly worldly. They deal with buyers from India, the Middle East, Russia. You hear Arabic, Spanish, all sorts of languages in the stalls. They cater to a global clientele, not just the West.
Which means they are hyper-vulnerable to the entire world's problems. It's not just a policy decision from Washington anymore. It's the ripple effects of conflicts thousands of miles away.
Absolutely. The Ukraine war, for example, is cited as a massive non-tariff problem. We hear from Woo Young-king, a car parts seller, who says the war has been a real headache.
And that headache translates into immediate commercial losses. They've lost touch with their Ukrainian customers completely.
Gone. And predictably, demand in Russia has plummeted. Sanctions, currency instability, the general economic freeze. When a market just disappears overnight because of a war, there's no tariff avoidance scheme that can help you.
And it's not just major ongoing wars. It's also the rapid impact of just escalating tensions. The sources mention a woman selling shirts who relies heavily on business across the Middle East, the flare-up between Israel and Iran, which caused massive shipping jitters across the Red Sea.
It would make her extremely nervous.
And that nervousness is immediately priced in, right? We're talking about soaring shipping insurance costs, rerouted container ships, delayed payments. Even for something as simple as a shirt, the geopolitical temperature directly hits the bottom line.
This is the critical synthesis here. Yiwu might be the world's holiday supplier, but it acts as this direct, sensitive economic thermometer for international conflict and protectionism everywhere. They don't just read the news, they feel the geopolitical heat instantly.
Which raises an important question then. What is the true cost of this hyper-global interdependence? When a vendor selling classic Christmas hats in China can't plan their next quarter because of a conflict thousands of miles away, it means the price of instability is paid across the entire planet.
The cost is perpetual uncertainty. It's the need for constant radical adaptation. Every single international conflict becomes a direct market risk for these merchants.
But despite all of this, the tariffs, the trade wars, actual armed conflict, our sources suggest that the general mood there, it still twinkles. They aren't packing up shop. They're showing incredible resilience.
That's because they understand the world still celebrates. Even if one market closes or slows down, people in other places are always preparing for the next major festival. They just shift their focus.
So what this really means for the future of global sourcing is that the merchants in Yiwu know the decorative economy is so much bigger than just Christmas.
Precisely. They're not just the Christmas capital. They manufacture decorations for festivals, Christian, Muslim, Hindu, you name it. They are the world's celebration factory, not just Santa's workshop.
And this rapid rotation is the key to their survival. Mrs. Yang, one of the vendors, has already finished sending the last shipments of decorations for Ramadan, which is in February, so they're already well past Christmas production.
Their immediate next focus will be Chinese New Year, a completely different set of items. Red lanterns, specific banners, symbols of prosperity. They switch from Santa hats to lucky knots, just seamlessly. That extreme flexibility is their defining survival mechanism.
So let's summarize the key takeaways we've pulled for you from this deep dive. First, the story of the Christmas capital shows exactly how specific tariffs like the ones that caused that $940 million impact force creative, even Grinchy adaptations like dismembering Santa, just to maintain a profit.
And second, Yiwu proves that global conflict, whether it's the war in Ukraine or tensions in the Middle East, hurts supply chains and market demand just as intensely as a targeted trade war. The fragility caused by geopolitical friction affects everyone.
So the story of Yiwu, a city built on commercial joy, ends up being this sharp, real-world lesson in the harsh realities of modern global commerce. They prove that the supply chain has to be incredibly fluid, capable of switching production from Feliz Navidad banners to Ramadan decorations almost overnight.
And that leaves us with a final provocative thought for you to consider. Is this incredible fluidity, this relentless need for radical, instant adaptation switching markets and logistics in a matter of weeks, is that sustainable in the long term for the thousands of small businesses in Yiwu? Or is the future of global trade now defined not by stability and planning, but simply by this constant, desperate need for reinvention?
All right, that's all for today's episode. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to like, save, and follow. Your support is the motivation that drives my progress.